Well, good evening. First, let me apologise for the non-appearance of Points of View last week. It was due, as they say, to circumstances beyond our control. Now, for the next few moments, I'd like to look at the lighter side of life as reflected in your letters. First, this, from John Collin of Bristol.
Please, will someone tell the lady presenter of Play School, May the 3rd, that diesel engines do not go chuff, 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 toot, toot. They go brow.
Now we know. And as John Collin is 2.5 years old, so he tells me, I can only applaud his grasp both of the English language and writing. Now, talking of writing, isn't this good? It belongs to Richard Bennett of Tarporley, Cheshire.
Dear Barons, Barry must be sure for something. I'm absolutely disgusted, etc., etc.
And what is Richard Bennett disgusted by? Well,
Having missed the previous run of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because my Monday evenings are committed to regular activities...
Really?
It's my Morris dancing practice evening. Don't panic.
I won't.
I took solace in the fact that such a popular, acclaimed, amazing, panegyrized, eulogized, good series would inevitably be repeated. Well, I was right. It has.
But there's a but.
But why on a Monday night again? Tell the DG or controller of programs, or whichever cretinous individual arranges these things, that if it is going to repeat programs, why not use a different evening?
Or you could always take up a different hobby, Richard Bennett. Dancing about hitting people with sticks isn't the be-all and end-all of life, you know. But now we return to the curious business of Lord Swift of Chipperfield. A couple of weeks or so back, we received a letter from this person on the subject of dynasty. It was flippant. I was flippant. He wrote again.
Dear Took, damn it, man, you've slandered my family name. The death of my first dear wife, Elsa, through drink caused great sadness to me. Yet last week on the show, you made out that it was something of great hilarity.
And his letter continues, dotted with words like...
Embarrassing, intoxicated, too ashamed,
and...
scandal.
And he asks for...
A full and unreserved apology.
Well, when it transpired that we weren't going to be on last week, Lord Swift phoned the BBC duty office, threatening me with his solicitors. If that wasn't enough, this arrived on Tuesday. I won't bore you with it all, but the resident loony of Chipperfield says, among other things...
Flew back from Ceylon just to hear the apology. You deliberately cancelled the show so as not to have to make it. Disgusting. Libel. Defamation Act of 1952. Lingard and Lingard of Hemel Hempstead. Never lost a case. J. Lingard, Mrs. A woman. First rate. Hair-do-well screwed on. For a woman.
Well, it seems that if Lord Swift of Chipperfield doesn't get an apology tonight, he'll...
proceed against you and get every penny that you have to your name.
Ah, that case will appear in the Small Claims Court. However, I have decided to fight and have instructed Private Eye's legal advisers, Messrs. Sue Gravitt and Runn, to act for me. On second thoughts, sorry, Lord Swift, but I don't mean it. It was Dynasty that started it all. Dynasty, as seen by chance by Patricia James of Finsbury Park, who wrote to me on May the 16th.
Dear Barry, at 10:10 p.m. yesterday, I turned on my TV with the intention of watching Match of the Day. However, I had the extreme misfortune to see a few minutes of Dynasty. It will take me some time to recover from exposure to this excruciation.
Patricia James concludes her letter.
If the BBC cannot find anything better than American drivel with which to fill our screens at prime time on Saturday evenings, may I respectfully suggest that they bring back the Potter's Wheel interlude?
What, and get everybody overexcited? Come now, dear. Mind you, Justine Richardson of Poynton, Cheshire, feels that the series rates...
A government health warning. In order to prevent being bored, sick, feeling drained of all energy, in despair and high blood pressure, do not watch Dynasty.
And Justine Richardson describes herself as...
a disgusted Dallas fan.
thus making out Dallas as a sort of high-rise Tunbridge Wells. Fiona Main from Redruth, Cornwall, writes...
Dear Blobbert Beeb,
Me?
why can't we have more intellectual programmes at the Beeb? Less of all these silly and pathetic programmes. We want Bill and Ben.
Hear, hear. But Mrs. R. Farnsworth of Manor Park, London East 12, says...
I feel I must write and say how thoroughly enjoyable Dynasty was.
Well, there you are. The great debate will rage on. Is Dynasty worse than Dallas? And is Lord Swift of Chipperfield as balmy as a wheelbarrow? But now a letter of such brevity, it brought joy to my heart.
Dear BT, re-QED, BBC 18582. A1, yours, BC. P.S. Repeat? OK?
But who is BC? Billy Connolly, possibly. This is from Christabel Gregory of East Twickenham, who writes in musical vein to...
Maestro Barry Took, Points of View, BBC London. Dear Barry, I began to watch QED music last week as a duty, feeling that I should always be prepared to learn more about the love of my life. However, any feelings of duty vanished, sforzando, when the programme started, con brio. We had education, ma non troppo, and entertainment, giocoso. As for the perfect balance, each complementing the other, maestoso. May we have this programme shown again? Encore, squared. Sincerely, Christabel Gregory, con amore.
Well, how Italian. If QED was that good, I'm sure we'd all like to see a bit again, now wouldn't we? Yes.
Each instrument sounds different, gives rise to a unique sensation. Yet all the different sounds we hear are basically just vibrations.
QED on music. Now, while our thoughts are turned towards things of the mind, let me bring this letter from John Adamson to your attention. He writes from the Department of Biochemistry, the Medical Biology Centre of the Queen's University of Belfast.
Dear Barry, you still have not said why the BBC encourage people to use first-class stamps on their letters, postcards, etc. If you refuse once again to comment, one can only make the obvious deduction.
Well, it might be obvious to you, my dear Holmes, but A, I don't recall having heard from you before, so cannot refuse to comment again, and B, I'm not aware that the BBC do encourage people to use first-class stamps. I'd have thought second class is there to be used at the sender's discretion, as is first class. I welcome either and only wish that we had time to read more of your letters. But let's stay in Ireland, albeit era, and two citizens of the Republic, on the whole, much loved by British television audiences. Here's M. Bettany of Highcliffe-on-Sea, Dorset, on the subject of Terry Wogan.
Someone wrote to you and had the cheek to say Terry Wogan could not sing or dance. Terry Wogan has two gifts which make him so very popular. Personality plus and also confidence.
He certainly has that. Mind you, unique confidence in the face of letters like this from George Fanshawe of Tring, Hertfordshire.
Terry Wogan is the worst thing to hit Britain since canned studio laughter, and just as sincere. Even the Blarney Stone must have shuddered when he kissed it. He's overplugged, overexposed, overindulged, over anything you might mention.
Paid. The other broth of a boy from the Emerald Isle currently enjoying his annual trot out on BBC One is Val Doonican, and not a harsh word said about him or his guests. Mind you, he does get advice like this from C.S. Bridges of London Northwest 11.
Dear Barry, I noticed that in his TV shows, Val Doonican crosses his legs a lot when he sings.
Only when he's sitting.
If he continues to do this, as a tall man, he may develop back and spine trouble. Perhaps if and when you see him, you will tell him this for his own good.
Right, will do. Tell Val not to cross his legs. Next, oh yes, Celia Harris of Derby, writing on May the 15th.
Val Doonican and friends have just finished a most delightful half-hour's entertainment, and many like myself who are aged, I'm in my 83rd year and cannot get out and about, must say thank you to one and all of the artistes for recapturing the music and songs which are musical and nostalgic.
Quite so. Actually, of course, Val's shows are 50 minutes, but must have seemed like half an hour to Mrs. Harris. The last letter we have time for this week comes from Mr. and Mrs. Dye of Ipswich, who say,
We enjoyed the Val Doonican shows very much.
Please, can we have the group Sky again? They were great.
Indeed they were, and indeed you can, Mr. and Mrs. Dye. Oh, and Mr. Axby of Kettering asked for Sky too. So here they are. From us until next week, goodbye.
If you have any comments on BBC television programmes, please write to Points of View, BBC Television Centre, London W12 8QT.